Hey there, Soulshines, it's Michelle here, and today we are actually doing a crochet tutorial. I'm going to be teaching the foundation single crochet. It can be a little bit challenging to understand, but once you've got it, it can be a game changer for your creations. You can replace anywhere that you use a chain and a single crochet if you want to. Or you can continue to do chaining and single crochet. It depends. And sometimes I do either. Sometimes I will do the foundation single crochet in place of chain and single crochets, and sometimes I will actually do the chain and single crochets. Having this tool in my toolbox has changed a lot for me and been very incredible, and so I wanted to share that with you. In this tutorial, Billy fell down. Guess she wanted some attention. In this tutorial, I will be doing the single crochet, or the foundation single crochet. I am going to do a chain and kind of explain to you what it looks best to replace. If you don't want to do a foundation single crochet, if you're like, I just can't get this, I will be showing you ways that you can use the foundation single crochet besides just as you're starting your project. So a couple of things, some alternatives to buttonholes, using the foundation single crochet, how to extend stitches. Either you didn't chain enough and you need to extend stitches, or you're in mid-project and you need to extend out on both sides or one side, and how you can use the foundation single crochet for that. So let's get to it. Let's talk about the foundation single crochet. I've got some yarn, I've got a crochet hook. To start with, we are going to do your regular slip knot and chain 2. If you do not know how to chain or single crochet, I suggest you learn them. I do have a tutorial for both of those. I will put the basics playlist up there. Learn your basics before you do these more advanced stitches. They're not hard, but if you don't know how to do the beginning stitches, you just are gonna struggle. So you've chained 2, you're skipping this one, you're gonna go in, and I like to actually put it through so that I have 2 loops on here and 1 loop on the back. 3. You've got the 2 from the chain and the 1 and the 1 and the 1. It just makes the edge look nicer. My tension's gonna be wonky right here. Now that you've got it like this, now normally when we're chaining something, we're going along and we do our chain, and not get caught on yarn, chain. And then when we come back through, we kind of hold our project this way and come back in and work across, right? I'm gonna actually make this and leave this for comparison. This is chaining and single crocheting across with using that top loop, that top V. I was realizing while I was looking at this that this actually looks very similar to a typical knitted cast on. Alright, I'm going to put this up here off screen. The reason I was kind of talking about that is because this project we're not actually working across the way with our stitches the same. So we're going to do our chains, and we're going to come in and we're going to go through both of those again. So we had the 2, and then we're going to go here and we're going to kind of tug it up a little bit because we don't want to be working here on top of the chain. We want to be working up here. We're going to do a chain here. So we're just going to yarn over and pull through that first loop. And so we're not working across this way. We're actually working, so we normally work across this way. We're going to be working this way. Okay, we're going to yarn over and go through both of those. That was 1 foundation single crochet made. You can tighten up your knot. We do not work in these ends, we just work in these. Okay, we're going to go through and you have made a single crochet there. So you're going to go into the bottom of that V right in there, but you need to get that one and the one from the other side. And you're going to pull up your thing, and then again, we don't want to be just doing it right here. If we do it right here without snugging things up, then that chain becomes too tight. I'll show you when it gets a little further. I'll actually do a couple of tight ones so that you can see. So I kind of pull it a little bit. I don't want to pull it way far. We're not doing that. We just want to make sure that our consistency is nice. So just a little bit. Stretch that stitch just the tiniest. Make your chain, or make your little chain there, and then finish your stitch like a single crochet. Go in and make sure you go under both. So again, it's this V. You have the loop here, you have the V here, you're going in there. Pull up a stitch. Do not do tight. Kind of pull it up here. Make your chain by pulling through just one loop and then pull through two. Notice that I also move my thumb up to hold up here. It makes it easier to find that stitch and go through them when I pull it up. So I'm going to go through both of those. I'm going to pull up, and this time I'm not going to tighten it up here like I normally do, because I want you to see if I just go through the chain and through here. Now this chain's a little bit tighter, and then I'll go through again. I'm not pulling up, I'm just trying to do it, and it starts to curve a lot because now this chain is tighter than everything else. So we want to keep that loose by going in, pulling up, pulling our stitches so that they're up, leading in front of this, going up over at the top. Not over here, up here. Do our loop over, yarn over and pull through one. So that's our little chain. Hold it so it makes it easier to find next time. And pull up. And then you go again. You've got, right now, if you turn it this way, your V's look straight. Right now your V's look like it's coming downward this way. It's okay. In the end, it all works out. Pull over, yarn over, go through one, yarn over, go through both, find that V, go in both of those, yarn over, pull it up, kind of tug up there a little bit, yarn over, pull through one, yarn over, pull through two. Okay, and then to count them, let's count these. You can count them here. So you've got your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We don't count this. If you do go in the end here, it makes a weird fan thing. This does not count as a stitch. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and then if you look at the bottom here, we have these little loops that go like this. 2, 2, 2. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we've got our knot. If you want to count the posts, it's kind of, the first one looks different. So you're going to count one, and then you can count this loop that comes here, this bar. So you'd count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Don't count your chains and loops, okay? Now, when you chain one and turn your work, you can go in the tops just like you normally would. You just work over 7 like normal, just doing single crochets on top of it. And I did 7. And so if I were to go into here, first of all, that loop right there is the same as this loop on this one. So it actually would throw off your stitches. You would go in over here, you'd be like, okay, I'm going to stick one in here. And now it's got a fan thing because you've got too many stitches, so it doesn't go even. So we don't work in the end. We just work the 7 stitches, turn our work, go across, and you never work into your chains. You're just going to work into the top of the single crochets. I'm going to talk about extending. So right now we have this little rectangle, but say we wanted it to look more like a t-shirt or something. On one side, it's pretty easy. You chain out a few, say you want 3 stitches. So you do an extra one for your turning change. You turn your work, go in. I don't know where you'd want to put in your stitches. It's kind of, you could go in the back, I think. They would look more the same if you went in the back. 2, 3, and then you go into your work. Doing the back stitches looks a little funny because it turns it, but it's okay. Okay, and then we get to the other side. Now here's the thing. On the other side, if we just did a chain and stuff, now we're off balance. Now this one's coming out from this row, but if we did a chain and go back, then that one's coming off from the next row, which could be okay for some things. But I want mine to actually be coming off at the same row. Now I could, you know, like detach and do some weird chaining stuff, but I'm going to use a foundation single crochet. So I've got my V from my single crochet. I'm going to go into the bottom of it. I'm going to pull up a loop, and then I'm going to pull it to the side just like I did before. I'm going to do a loop over and go through one. So yarn over and go through one. I just made my chain. I'm going to yarn over and go through both. I just did my single crochet. I'm going to go through the bottom again. Make sure I go through both of them. Yarn over, pull up a loop, go through 1, go through 2. One more time, because we had 3 on the other side, so we should put 3 on this side. Go through my spot, yarn over, kind of pull that up a little bit so it's off to the side. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and now I've got my rows, so I'm going to work back over to the middle. Okay. Now here's the thing, this is a little bit tighter. So I would probably want to do a looser chains because these actually fit more in with this. This is a little bit tighter than this. So on this side, when I'm doing my chain and back loops, I probably want to loosen my gauge a little bit, especially on my chain stitch there. And on this side, I might want to be a little bit tighter on some of them, especially like the end one, to get my gauge right, because that's more of a tension issue. So it's a practice to get your tension right. But that's how you get it so they're both coming off and you've made it across the same row. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is if you wanted a buttonhole. Now, typically, the way people do buttonholes is they go to where they want the buttonhole and they chain however many want the buttonhole. So 1, 2, 3, and they skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and then they single crochet in the next one. And that is typically your buttonhole there. Okay, so it makes this little big hole there, and I'm going to work back across it. For 2 reasons why all my buttons be facing the same way for your learning pleasure. The other reason is to show you what people typically do. So usually you crochet in your last stitch, and then you're like, okay, this was 3 stitches. I'm going to put my single crochets right into that chain space like that. Got across, now I keep going and finish off my row with single crochets in the next stitches. This is every pattern I've ever seen. This is how they do buttonholes. Okay, so that's what it looks like. It's okay, you have to, you know, make sure that your buttons are bigger so they don't flip out of there and everything like that. I don't mind it. It's not my ideal though, so let's do it a different way. I'm going to work to about the same space. I'm going to show you 3 or 4 different ways you can use the foundation single crochet and why you might want to choose different options. Okay, so we're here. I want to make another buttonhole, but I don't want this big old hole. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to go in the bottom of my V, pull up a loop, kind of pull it to the side, do my chain, do my 2, finish my single crochet, go down in there again, come up, yarn over, go through 1, yarn over, go through 2, one more time, go in, pull up, yarn over through 1, yarn over through 2. That was 3. So I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3. I could just start single crocheting here. Let me single crochet to the end. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Yes, it has a little bit of loop here. I'll talk about that in a second when I come back across. But now it's like pretty flat. It also is kind of snug on this side, but actually pretty loose on this side. So I'm going to show you a couple other ways to use the foundation single crochet to make buttonholes. I'm going to go back to where the beginning of my buttonhole stitches are. Because my foundation single crochet gauge is a little bit more loose than my regular single crochets, and there's a little bit of space, I'm actually going to go pretty tight across the top of those 3 stitches. I'm going to go pretty tight, then go back to my regular gauge, and that's just to help with that curve that comes across there. Another thing that you could try is making your foundation single crochets a little bit tighter as you're going across the buttonhole. But now on this side, that's what it looks like. And on this side, that's what it looks like. Okay, so now I'm going to come again and we're going to do this again. I don't do them as often, so my tension is not as consistent as I would like. Okay. So I've gotten here, I want to make my another buttonhole. So I'm going to go down into the bottom again, and I'm going to come up and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to try and keep my tension a little bit tighter on this time. So I'm going to do my 3 foundation single crochets. And then there are a couple things you can do here. So I'm going to show you one. Not my favorite one. You can go through there, you can slip 1, 2, skip 1, 2, 3, skip 1, 2, 3, go into the next one, pull through all of that. So what I did, I'm going to show you again. I'm going to go through the bottom as if I was going to pick up a loop, and I'm not going to pick up a loop. I'm going to skip the 3. I'm going to go in to the next stitch, pull up, and I'm going to go through that loop plus the other 2. And then I'm going to finish my single crochet. Now this one, the buttonhole is tight, and if you're doing have a button in there, that's fine, you're not going to see it, but it does kind of have this overlap that happens, and it shows up on both sides because you kind of somehow ski-wampus your project. And once again, I'm going to go through a little tighter across the top of the 3 stitches as I come back this way, just so they're not so loose, or just to help straighten out that curve that happens. Oops, not slip stitch. And then I'm going to go back to my normal tension. Okay, so now there's your buttonhole. A little off center from the other 2, but that's okay because this is just a demonstration. That's what it looks like on this side, and that's what it looks like on this side. So I'm going to go across again. I'm going to do another version. I'm going to go in at the bottom and do my foundation single crochet. And then I do a second one. And do my third one. Okay. This time I'm going to go through and I'm going to pull up a loop. And I'm going to skip my 3 and I'm going to go through and I'm going to pull up a loop. And I'm going to go through all 3 of them. Okay. And then I'm going to single crochet all the way across. And as you can see, that actually isn't too bad. And this side, it's not too bad. It's a pretty decent buttonhole. It's not my favorite, but I have one more to show you. I'm gonna come back across. It's my top loop that I have tension issues with on my foundation single crochet. I figured out the bottom loop, but I haven't quite figured out the top loop, so it still gets some tension issues. So that's what they all look like. You've got this one that my only issue with it is how it is over there. This one, my issue with it is the tension. This one, actually, I don't mind, and I could use that one, no problem. Here's what they look like on this side. Again, this is the loose side. This one, this side's not too bad. Okay. So let's do this one more time and then we'll move on to something else. This time, when I do my foundation single crochets, I'm going to try to keep my top knot or my top loop tighter and see if that helps with my weird tension issues. Mostly I'm just holding it so it doesn't get stretch out as I'm going around unless I catch it. And this yarn is so splitty. Catch a thing and I've got weird splits catching. Sorry. Like I said, this is interestingly splitty yarn. Go in there. Pull up, and I want this one not to stretch out when I stretch this up. Sorry about the weird splits there. I don't know, I'm gonna come back. Okay, I'm gonna go in, pull up a loop, I'm gonna snug that down. I want this, when I do it, I want this one to be snug, this one to be a little bit loose. I'm going to go in here, I'm going to pull up my thing. I want that one to be a little bit loose, my top one to be a little bit snug. Go through one, go through two, and see, once again, my loop went way big. I don't think figuring this out on a tutorial is ideal, but it is what it is. Okay, going through, pull through that, keep that one tight, now pull through that. Okay, I feel like that's a little better. Skip the 3, 1, 2, 3. But next I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna go in as if I'm going to do a thing. I'm gonna pull up my thing. I'm gonna skip 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna actually just slip stitch into this. Slip stitch into it and then finish my single crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the next, or sorry, single crochet across to the end. I'm going to meet you after I go past this end. Once again, doing a little bit tighter there. It's that top loop, but I feel like that one's better. Alrighty, I am actually going to cut this off now, because we're at that point. I feel like I can. All right, so on this side, here's your thing. That's with the slip stitch. It's snug on both sides. It lays pretty flat close together. With the slip stitch into the next thing, pulling it through all three into the next thing. This one's just moving on into single, no, this one's just moving on into single crochet, which if that's this one and this one would be my choices, unless the look I'm going for is the regular buttonhole. This one and this one would be my choices, and if you want to rewatch those, this is going to be typical buttonhole. This is going to be buttonhole 1, 2, 3, 4, so you can rewatch them and to see what they are depending on which one you like. Okay, so See, I don't like this one at all because either way, it's pretty obviously there. All right, that's it for buttonholes. So on this particular swatch, we learned how to do the foundation single crochet. We did the extensions off of a side of a row. We did the buttonholes. What else do we have? So this tiny swatch I did with the bottom being in the top loop. You don't get like the V's. You get a very looks very much like a knitted cast on, very similar to a long tail cast on actually. In case you know you're knitting, and if you don't, that's okay too. On the bottom of this one, with your regular foundation single crochet, you actually end up with the V going across the bottom there, so it looks very nice. And the next thing I'm going to do is a few chains in the back loops, single crochet in the back loop. There is a purpose in this, I promise. 2 purposes actually. Okay, so I'm going to go in the back loop. So this is, I'm not cutting that because I need it for the next step, but this is what it looks like to do a back loop. So with the back loop, you do get your V along the bottom, and it looks like that. And when we compare it to this, they have, let me compare it to the correct sides. They have very similar appearance on both sides. So it's very nice to replace things. Now, I have different uses for different pieces. Sometimes I like using the regular single crochet where you just keep going in the top loop. Sometimes I prefer the back loop. Sometimes I do a foundation single crochet. I will switch out in a pattern. If it says chain so many and then work in the loop, single crochet across, a lot of times I will just do foundation single crochets for that whole bit. There's a lot of reasons. But let's talk about, let's say you were doing single crochets, and let's say you had a chain of like 88, but you needed your chain to be 93 or something. We're not going to go that far. But what you could do, you get to the end, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough stitches. I don't have enough chains. I ran out of chains and I need it to be longer. One method, it is not a perfect method, but it looks pretty decent. It's considered a hack. To go in to the bottom, let me see. Your bottom of your last single crochet, you've got that V just like in your other things. You're going to go right in there. And I do find that it's helpful to come like this, kind of get your knot locked in there. So I'll do that again so you can see. It helps with the way that it looks. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to have my knot to the front. I'm going to grab this thing just like normal. And now I'm going to make sure my yarn is going to the back. I'm going to do my little chain. I'm going to do my single crochet. And now the knot has been kind of hidden in the back. Once you tie in your ends, it'll all be good. And you've just added a chain and a stitch. So you can go in again and add another one. So that is a little hack that you can use it for. It's not too bad. This is a back loop, so it definitely works better with the back loop. You can see that the V stitches just run right into each other. On the back, it looks pretty similar across there. On the front, it looks pretty similar. Nobody's going to notice, especially if you come back and put a border on this side. Nobody's going to notice. So that's one really awesome technique. Now I'm going to keep going with this until I get a length because I want to talk about working in the round. Scratch that. I have to undo and start all over again because otherwise one of the techniques definitely won't work. I have done a bunch, and let's say we need to attach it because we're going to make a tube. There are 3 ways you can do this that I know of. One, you could simply make sure that your working yarn is at the top. You could simply slip stitch in the top of the first stitch and work your way up, and then when you're done you would take, and when you weave your tail in, you would use it to tie up that bottom so that it goes around. That's what most people do. So that is definitely one way, and you just sew in that little bit right there. I like to be different, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do is kind of come in and show you two ways. One is you can pull it up like that, just like you were going to do another one, but instead of doing another one, you're going to come in. I go from front to back. I don't know if it looks different if you go from back to front. I'm sure it does. I don't know if it would look better. And then I can go through all of the loops and then single crochet or slip stitch to the top. That is one way of doing it. And then once you tuck your ends in, you would go around. Not my favorite. It is a way. I like to show people different ways to do things. It just makes me happy. Okay. Now, let's say we're going to do it the other way. You're going to go in just like before. You're going to pull up a loop. I am like in this really splitty section, so let me do one more stitch. Let's hope it's not a split if I move forward a minute. Okay. I'm going to pull up one loop as if I'm going to do another one, but I'm not going to do another one. I'm going to bring my end around. I'm going to go in front to back, pull my loop through, and I'm going to pull it through one. I'm going to leave the other one on top. So I've got the two. I'm leaving this here in the middle. Going to stick it under there, and I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to go through all of it. And then that is how that looks. I like that one the best. And then I can just keep going on, you know. So those are ways that you can work in the round. You can tie the end in. You can do the two different slip knot versions. And that's what I do. I'm going to try it, guys, while you guys are watching, or I'll delete this. I've got to come in, and I'm going to go front to back and see what happens, how that looks. Seems like it would be awkward. If I pull it all the way through. Yeah, I'm just getting weird twists. Nope, don't do it. Alrighty, guys. Hopefully that was helpful. If you have any feedback one way or another, be kind in your negative reviews, but let me know what you think. Any ways that I can improve my tutorials would be awesome. Having the new camera is definitely a benefit. It's a new camera angle. I really look forward to getting a new camera. I know that will help. Anyway, feedback is awesome. Remember, you've learned now how to use foundation crochet to make buttonholes, to some tips for working in the round, tips for extending out, like here, we got the extensions here, extending extra stitches when you ran out, things like that. I want to remind you guys to remember to let your light shine through your creations, even if they're weird extra buttonhole-y thingies. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.